Okay, so a lot of people talk to me about motivation, inspiration, and basically getting things done. One of the common bits of feedback that I get from people when I first start working with them is that for one reason or another, they found that they've become lethargic and they've started to procrastinate in different parts of their day. And this the feedback I'm getting is this lethargy and this procrastination. It just grows. It just grows. It starts off as maybe a little bit of time wasting, and then moves towards a situation where, in the worst cases I've observed, um, somebody basically just self destructs. They self sabotage, ruining their business, ruining their relationships, ruining whatever else it may be. And this self destructive implosion, which happens for some people, I think is easily avoided because, just speaking through the lens of my own experience here, I had this a lot at different parts of my life. Mainly my 20s, where I was still had my head buried in the sand and didn't really have that much of a level of awareness which would have allowed me to kind of set myself up to win. Um, I was this guy who looked at his body like a boy racer looks at a car. It was just there to get me places really, really quickly and make me look kind of good. But there was no longevity in my relationship with it. So I found that what would happen is my lifestyle would be late nights, then in the morning, cold shower to wake myself up after snoozing the alarm as long as possible, the strongest coffee I could get, and then a journey into the office, whereas I was aware of this inner battle between my natural fatigue and the caffeine. And this for me created this feeling of lethargy, this wanting to procrastinate, because as soon as my day had started I was already on the back foot. At this point I'm struggling to be inspired by anything because I'm exhausted, and I'm getting this inner friction between the caffeine and the fatigue. um, and I would just want to look for anything else to do other than what I was there to do. Now, there may be many, many reasons for lethargy and procrastination, but just from my personal experience, one thing that shifted this for me was morning routines. There's a reason I'm sharing this on a Monday morning, because morning routines for me are absolutely essential. It's kind of like if you're going out into an unknown city, you would probably program the sat nav in your car to ensure that you can find your way around efficiently. And it's kind of the same with the day. Unless you kind of program yourself to go out efficiently and effectively into that day, it can be tough. Now, not everybody needs this. Some people are very natural with things, but for me, where I kind of lived this lifestyle which wasn't the best, I was, drinking on the weekends, partying, coffee in the morning, 4 or 5 hours sleep a night. Diet was up and down. Sometimes it was great, sometimes it wasn't. For me, it was just very challenging. This lack of any kind of morning routine to set the sat nav for my day meant that then I was just kind of going on the fly. And when you're exhausted and drained and everything else, that just doesn't work. Well, it doesn't for me at least. So I was working with a mentor who asked about my morning routine, and I said, well, yeah, I snooze the alarm clock as long as possible, jump in a freezing cold shower, now some black coffee, and I'm good to go. And he said, well, you might be able to drag yourself through with that, but that's not the best version of you. So he encouraged me to install a morning routine into my life, and it didn't take long for this to drastically change everything. The first impact was I started to see massive efficiency through my day. Like, I would hit the ground running with work, and I would continue to be at a high pace, right, like 90% of the day. I would feel good about things. I would be less triggered in situations. I would be more prepared for things. All of these different elements came together to generally make me feel more relaxed and composed. And it was just very, very nice. And this is the power of the morning routine. It sets you up for the day and it sets you up to win. And if you haven't already got this in your life and everything is going swimmingly, then ignore me. But if you are feeling like you're not getting the most out of yourself, if you're feeling like every day is like swimming against the tide, if you're feeling like things are just a lot more difficult than they need to be, and you haven't got a morning routine, it's a wonderful place to start. So how do you construct a morning routine? Well, it's pretty straightforward, to be fair. We look to identify things that get you going. Now, this is my version of a morning routine. Of course, there's many, many out there, and if mine doesn't resonate with you, but the concept of one of setting one up does, then I encourage you to go and find somebody else for inspiration who does resonate with you, whose actual morning routine does connect with you and excite you. But mine is very simple. So mine starts with movement. Okay, so what I'll do, what I started doing when I very first started morning routines, is I would get out of bed, nothing too strenuous. Get up, I'd have a glass of water next to the bed. First thing I'd do is sip it, then I'd hit the ground 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 star jumps. Now these aren't at a great pace, and I'm not kicking my ass for not going all the way down to the floor with the push-ups, but it's just to get that blood pumping. Now there are various different things you could do. You could just walk up and down the stairs a few times, maybe with a sleepy head on, might be a bit dangerous. But skipping is another one. People have little trampolines in their house. If you have young children, those little handheld ones that they often get are a great thing for rebounding for 5 minutes in the morning. But anyway, whatever it is, a bit of morning movement, and again, walking the dog is fantastic for dog owners out there. Once I had basically got that movement going and I'd got the blood pumping, the next thing that I would do would be watch a mind movie. Now, a mind movie is basically an on-screen, let's call it slideshow or whatever it may be, collection of different inspiring images and videos that you create with the backing of an inspiring song. Now, the way to do this, in my opinion, is find a song that really gets you going. So for me, it's the Star Wars theme. I love gamification, as I mentioned in other videos. I live most of my life thinking I'm a Jedi in my mind, so listening to the Star Wars theme in the morning kind of makes a bit of sense. And then what I do is the images and the videos that I have in there, they're a combination of two things. Firstly, they're images from my gratitude list. So they're things that I'm most grateful for. That could be my children, my wife, the life that I get to live, the places I get to travel, my home, whatever it may be. It could be something as simple as as getting to live in a time where medicine is as it is, and freedom of information and communication is as it is. Whatever it is, something that you are genuinely grateful for. Then what I put in there is pictures and images of things that I would like to have in my life. Things that I would like to bring into my life. I have those in there, whether it's a new home, a holiday, a new project, whatever that may be. And the third and final thing is pictures and images from magic moments that I've enjoyed through my life. Now, as I watch all of these interspersed and mixed up with my inspiring music after I've just bounced up and down for 5 minutes, what starts to happen is I start to get very happy, satisfied, connected with the gratitude list. And then when these things that I want to appear in my life start to come on the screen, it almost feels like I already have them. So then I start to get this real sense of fulfillment, and it hits me hard. Now, my mind movie is 5 minutes long. It's not that long. So 5 minutes of quick exercise, 5 minutes of the mind movie. And then what I do is I sit in silence for 5 minutes. So this was my morning routine at that time. I'd sit in silence for 5 minutes. I'd connect to my breathing. And what I mean by that is I'd stop and I'd just listen to my breathing. And I would try to identify my pulse in different parts of my body. Really, really good way to connect to the body and really calms you down. Then what I would do is simply go through my day. Have a look at what I have in the diary and say to myself, this is what I hope will happen, but I'm completely open to anything happening there. And it removed a lot of the importance and pressure from my activities. Now, this short 20 minutes, each one of those segments was designed to help me with something personal. So whether it's removing pressure, that last piece, whether it's connecting with my breathing and calming myself down with the silent meditation, whether it's getting myself pumped and connecting the things that I have to the things that I want in my mind through my mind movie, or whether it's the bouncing up and down to get the blood pumping, each one of these elements is useful for me for whatever reason in that moment. And the key with a morning routine is finding what's useful for you. What do you want to elicit? Is it connection? Is it excitement? Is it get the blood pumping? Whatever. And find ways to do that. The final point that I'll say on this really is that a morning routine, the essential part of a morning routine, is that it is something that you can maintain. It's something that you can continue with, because if it's too difficult to do, you won't continue and it'll fall down. So that is everything. There's a lot more that I could say on this, but I want to make this a short video. So thank you for listening. message me via the comments below or on pinealnick.org. If you have any questions about this, I'm more than happy to do another video on morning routines and get into some real specifics if that helps. So thank you as always, and have a beautiful day.